The Vera Time Show. The Vera Time Show. The Vera Time Show. The Vera Time Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Time Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am so excited about my guest tonight. I have Mr. Charles Yancey. How are you tonight?
I am well. How are you?
I am blessed. Thank you. And let me just share with our audience a little bit about Mr. Charles Yancey, the second, better known as Mr. Yancey, was born into a military family in then Fort Gordon, Georgia. After traveling over the years for various reasons, he currently lives in Canton, Ohio, and is the father of two boys. Mr. Yancey has worked in independent entertainment and media for over 20 years in a variety of capacities, from party promotions to hosting in nightclubs and events to traveling with an R&B group, voiceovers, and more. Currently, Mr. Yancey works for the Greater Stark County Urban League as a recruitment and marketing navigator. He also hosts a podcast titled Conquering the Unexpected, which is available on multiple platforms and is ranked number 144 in India in the category of mental health. Lastly, but certainly not least, Mr. Yancey is the founder of the Fatherly Impact Foundation, which supports, encourages, and empowers fathers and their families from the womb through high school and beyond. What's most important to know about Mr. Yancey is that he loves to see individuals be prosperous and successful, as well as leave a legacy for the next generation. Well, I am honored to have you here. We work together, and I know you are a man of many talents. And I also know that you are an humble man. And so I am going to give you the floor and ask you to share with our audience a little more about Mr. Charles Yancey II, and tell us a little bit about what was your childhood like? How did it impact you? And then move on into your journey and talk about what you've done and what you're doing.
Well, first of all, this is different for me because this is my first official interview out of the 20 years I've been doing this. I've always been with other people, and now it is my opportunity, and I don't even know what to do with myself. But I grew up. I'm a preacher's kid. I grew up a preacher's kid. My father preaching since he was 14, and as I grew up, I also had the opportunity to speak from the pulpit as well. That is not my current situation, even though I do find myself in pulpits, thanks to the Great Stark County Urban League and the Faith in Your Urban League initiative. I've had the opportunity to visit churches. Um, Probably the biggest thing about my childhood that I can definitely say is I have been very cautious. I am very careful when I on who I'm around, because you have to be careful. You can't just hang around just anybody. As the old saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. So I am very careful. I do have a group of friends, but for the most part, I try to stay to where I can take care of business and maintain professionalism. Um, I forgot every last question you just asked me other than that.
Well, I'll come back. Let's talk more. I want to know your childhood. I know you are a PK kid, and so am I. You came, and I know as PK kids, our experiences are quite different
Hmm.
from others in that we're very sheltered
Yes.
and not allowed to really do a lot of things. We couldn't dance. We couldn't listen to certain types of music.
Right.
Everything was about church. We were in church, 2 and 3 times a week. I remember taking homework to
Right.
church,
I,
so understanding. So how did that impact you? And I know you also talked about not being around certain people. And I used to tell my son all the time, association breeds assimilation. So you have to be careful of the type of people that you're hanging around. So let's talk about your journey and how did you get into the media marketing arena?
so that is interesting because, again, from my family, I come from a very talented family. Either you're a preacher, you're a singer, or you are a business professional. I have quite a few cousins on my father's side that are singers. Actually, my little brother, I'm gonna give him a shout out because I'm pretty sure he's watching. Shout out to Shamor. I gotta give. I'm pretty sure he's watching, but shout out to my little brother Shamor, who is a up and coming gospel singer. He won't say gospel, spiritual, whatever. But and I've had the opportunity when I was younger to do that. But again, when you know who you are, as you learn yourself, you learn that that's not for everybody. So I
Yes.
found myself behind the scenes. Um, as a matter of fact, again, as I said, I did a lot of moving. When I moved to Cleveland, Ohio, um, I started working, as I said as it says in the bio, I started doing some club promotions, and I ended up at a nightclub during what they call a live recording or I forgot. Yeah, live broadcast. And so I was there, and I started to meet DJs, and it was quite interesting. And then we went from one club to the next. And then one day I was at the club, and there was nobody hosting that night, or there was nobody on the microphone. So I looked at the DJ. I said, you mind if I grab the microphone? He said, hey, go ahead, do what you do. And it's been that way ever since 2005. I think 2004, 2005 has been that way ever since. Um,
So what did you do when you grabbed the microphone? Did you sing?
no, because no, they don't do that. I'm not. It was a karaoke night. It was as a nightclub. So basically, you MC, you kind of hype the night up. You kind of like a hype man, so to speak. And I did that for quite a while, and then I actually came across a young man who was hosting, who was actually working on a pilot for a dance music video show, kind of based off of Soul Train. Shout out to Dennis Cash. I might as well give all the shout outs I can. But yeah, Dennis Cash came in and he was shooting a TV show. And initially, I was a dancer on the show, but my aspirations are always bigger than that. So I went from being a dancer to an audio engineer to hosting, co-producing, and God, it just blew up from there. And that never stopped for me. I always it became a thing to where when I was on social media, I also managed the social media for the R&B group as well as the company I was working with. And so I learned the importance of social media beyond what people are doing today. I'm not into the drama, all that unnecessary stuff. I know what social media is for. And again, like we're doing now, It's about sharing positive information. It's about networking. It's giving people an avenue or opportunity to do something better. And so that's what I always stuck with. And from there, 2012 is when I did my first podcast, and literally been doing it ever since. Voiceovers. I'm not. Gosh, you. This is a loaded question.
Go ahead, speak, bro,
No,
speak.
it's so much. Anybody knows me. No, I very rarely talk about everything that I do because um, I I enjoy what I do, but it's more important for my product to be to be great versus my name. But if I'm allowed to, I want to give just interesting tidbit when it comes to my stage name or my professional name. I call it now. Professionally, I do go by Mr. Yancey, and that came about because I also worked in an inner city school, and I was questioned by the community liaison and another person when I was an ambassador for the American Stroke Association, and they asked me what my stage name meant, and I told them it really didn't mean nothing because it wasn't that important. But then they felt like because of all the work that I've done and for all the people that I've touched, that I deserved a certain name. And of course, and here's the funny part: when I was working in this inner city school, nobody knew my real name.
What did they call you?
They just called me Mr. Yancey, and
So
so
they never knew your first name at all.
never knew my first name, and it literally stuck. I've been Mr. Yancey ever since.
That's amazing. So you've done a number of things, and I know with your podcast, let me pull it up right quick because I want you to talk about, we all have had challenges and things that we've had to deal with. So let's talk about how do we conquer the unexpected?
Let me take a deep breath first. Um, so first of all, I got to give honor to Yahweh because I am never been the one to really tell a lot of stories, especially when it comes to personal. But in 2022, my then wife, the young lady I was married to, made some decisions that basically was one-sided, so to speak, and things did not go the way that I expected. To where she decided to file a false protection order, and this was September of 2022, and I was not happy with that then because it interfered with my visitation with my son. And I said, okay, I'm just gonna work with it. We were actually in the middle of divorce, and I said that I'm gonna work with it. And I talked to my lawyer, made sure I knew what I needed to or not to do. And so I'm not gonna tell the complete story, but I allowed, it happened. The protection order was granted, and of course I didn't interfere with anything. I just did what I had to do. Like I said, stay in contact with my lawyer. So then, as time goes on, little did I know there was a lot of false police reports that were. Oh, shout out to my cousin.
Yeah,
That's like,
I want to acknowledge people that
yeah,
chime in.
that
So
shout
thank
out.
you, Darlene.
But little did I know she was filing multiple false police reports, um, and again, I just kept doing what I was supposed to do, and so and then at the same time, I was still seeing my son, so I was definitely not going to interfere with that. I went on and kept doing what I was supposed to do, and then April the 4th is where it all kind of, as they say, came to head. Um, I had received a phone call from a police officer, the detective, informing me of another false police report that was filed, and he told me he was going to close it as unsubstantiated. And I said, okay. and I was trying to get the police report number so that I could try to, I guess, counteract it. And he told me it won't be available for 5 days. So I said, okay. And I went on about my business. And that next day, that was April the 3rd when I got that phone call. The morning of April the 4th, I got a knock on my door at 5:30 in the morning from Perry Township Police. And they informed me that they were to detain me. Oh, no, sorry, not the Perry Canton Police. They were to detain me for Perry Township Police Station. And I'm oblivious because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So, needless to say, I was incarcerated for 4 months. Um,
Wow.
falsely
On false allegations.
And yeah, and when people ask me, they say, "Well, did they do any kind of investigation?" No, there was no investigation. They basically took me in put me in handcuffs, put me in the squad, and took me straight to, as we call it, some people call it in the streets, Hotel 62. So um, I kind of went in there, and again, this is not something normal to me because I don't spend months on end in jail. But the crazy thing was, again, they had I had a public defender, and initially he did not believe anything I said. And it literally took him 3 months because again, was very connected with my lawyer, and I told her, I said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on." She said, "Well, just have the public defender call me, and I will take care of it for you." I said, "Okay." And so, time went on, and the biggest thing for me, and again, back to the question, how this came about, because I was in jail. I prayed. I prayed. I constantly read the Bible, and all I kept doing was I had to put it in God's hands because I knew I was not guilty of anything. At the same time, as we know, things are a process, and I really had to allow the process to play out. And when I tell you to sit there for 4 months and watch guys come and go, and even crazier, watching some guys come back, it's like, wow, wait a minute. I'm not even supposed to be in here, but you're coming back. Um, and so I sat there and I prayed, and this is the exact prayer I prayed. I said, at that time I was calling God, but I said, God, if you allow me to get out of this, I am not going to let this situation conquer me. I am not going to let this situation overcome me. And so I made the decision when I got out, I was going to talk about it. And I didn't, not to the degree what I'm doing right now, because this is literally my first time telling this story publicly. Um,
But there's a reason you're telling this story, and we're going to talk about that after you finish.
yes. I literally went through I went through, and I finally was released out of jail July 28th, 2023. I was found not guilty of all charges January 30th, 2024. Um,
What? A whole year?
well, no, I got out July 28th of 20,
Oh, okay.
and then I was found not guilty
In
January.
July.
Yes, no,
In January. Gotcha.
and when I tell you, even when I got out, I was like, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know where to go. One, because it's one thing to be accused of something and be guilty. You go in, you do your, yeah, they say you do the crime, you do the time. Um, it's another thing to be falsely incarcerated. So the mental damage that goes into that um, is pretty serious because for some people it's like, well, hey, at least you're out. Well, when you have a lot of things that are taken from you, when you lose a lot in the process, it's not that's not easy to overcome. But
Right.
yeah, I'm thankful to Yahweh that He has given me that strength. He's given me the support system around me that has kept me strong and allowed me to continue to do what I do best.
And It is so sad that there are mothers out here that do things to keep fathers from spending time with their children. Your circumstances and situation, though extreme, it is not out of the norm. There are so many women out here that pit their children against their fathers and makes it look like the father is all the problem.
Mm-hmm.
There are some good fathers out here. There are some committed fathers out here. There are some fathers that want to be with their children. I am sick and tired of all you hearing about our deadbeat dads.
Right.
There are so many wonderful dads out here that are being ostracized and alienated from their children because of bitterness, because of anger, because of jealousy, because of all these negative forces that have nothing to do with the kid,
Right.
has nothing to do with the children. But yet they're insinuated into all this negativity, and it traumatizes children.
Right.
It impacts on children. And I know you and I both are very involved in the Fatherhood Initiative. Me, from a perspective of being a single mom of a son, but also not really knowing my biological father, which left a void in my life. And so it's important to me that fathers are engaged in their children's lives. And for you to have gone through all this that you went through for nothing,
Right.
for having done nothing.
Now, I'll be honest, because if anybody, if any responsible adult will take responsibility, because I talk about it on my podcast. Sometimes you gotta let things go.
Yeah.
I grew up again, and my mother would tell me about it, because I'm old school. I try in certain situations. I'm old school, and in old school, great grandparents, great grandparents, they try to stick it out thick and thin, even though it was not working because of the kids. And in all actuality, it's hurting more than it's helping. And so in reality, because I chose not to let go, is part of the reason why I ended up in that situation. I had this thought in my mind, because I was going to say this when I got on here. It's sad to have a trusted circle that try to tell you the truth, but you don't listen. Surround yourself with people that you trust, but you don't want to listen to those people that
Yes. And let me say, there is a scripture that says a wise man follows the advice of counsel.
Mm-hmm.
A fool goes his own way.
Right.
And I used to quote that to my son all the time. You need to listen when people are trying to give you sound advice. It may help you to avoid
Mm-hmm.
some pitfalls and some problems that you didn't need to go through, because if God puts some wise person into your atmosphere, you need to listen.
Right. And that was the one of the things I had to think about. And again, even when I was incarcerated, I had to ask for forgiveness, because again, at some point, it's not that you don't see the signs. It's not that the signs are not right in front of you. You don't have to bust you upside the head until it busts you upside the head. Um, yeah, that was the thing for me. I kept trying to make things work, and everything's just not meant to happen. And it's like and anybody, some people who know me know I love to talk about cars. I don't know why I have car metaphors or analogies all the time, but it's like an old busted car that you keep trying to fix, and it's not going to work. You put more money into it, which means it's taking money from other places. So now you sitting here trying to take care of a car when you could be taking care of other things. We need to just get rid of the car. And so
Right.
that I really had to, I had to take responsibility for myself, because if I had to just say, you know what, what's done is done. I'm not gonna keep fighting it. Let it go. Move on. But because I didn't, I had to learn a lesson, and that's what ended up happening.
And the thing is, when we are in toxic relationships, we need to be clear about those signs and the impact that toxicity not only has on the couple, but you got to think about the children
Exactly.
and the impact that it's having on your children.
And I have to interject right there because, and that's the one of the things that hurt me the most about this current situation I'm in, because unfortunately now, even though again I was found not guilty, never been charged with abuse or child abuse or anything like that. Um, I have to have supervised visits with my own child that's actually named after me, and it is literally. I can't honestly. It's still to this day. I'm struggle with it because I'm like, wait a minute. How do I go from trying to be a good father to being, I don't know, a visitor, so to speak? And I know for a fact because even because I saw my son and I know his spirit. He has my spirit. He can be fun. Yeah, he can be conservative and back off. But I'm telling you, anybody that knows him knows he has a beautiful spirit. And anytime I'm able to see him, it's not like we never left. But that's one thing I honestly want people to understand. They always say don't use children as a pawn, because at the end of the day, who is it really going to hurt the most? It's not hurting me. It's not hurting the mother. It's hurting the child. And until we realize that, until we grasp that to where we are literally, again, as I said in my bio, because I literally believe that I've been preaching that for years, legacy, foundation. If you want that kind of foundation for your child, if that's the kind of legacy you want for your child, then you go ahead and do it. But if you want your child to be successful, being knowing, hey, I have the support of both parents, then you have to take you out of it. Take yourself out of it, because otherwise you're going to hinder your child from proper development. And you and I both know when it comes to children growing and developing, that's a major key. It does not matter whether we live in the same house. It does not matter where how often. The main thing is that child always needs the other parent in their life. And
Absolutely.
anytime a parent does that, you're doing a disservice to that child.
Right. And parents, remember, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about that relationship. It's about your children. It is about your children. They should be number one. And you have to set aside your personal issues with each other. Your children need to see that even though you may not be together, the bottom line is you both love your children. And you're going to do whatever you can to make sure that relationship is one where your children's not seeing you yelling and cursing at each other. Your children are not seeing you calling each other out of your name. Your children are not seeing the physical, mental, or emotional abuse in those relationships. If you got to go there, then do it away from your children.
Right.
Do it away from your children. I am praying to God that this show is going to impact lives. We got a comment coming in. Let's see what's being said. She says, you're welcome and thank you for your support through your show for my cousin who can speak on about lessons learned. You're welcome. I'm honored to have him here. We share the same office. I'm sitting at his desk. And, I know his heart and I know his sincerity and I know his passion for his children, but also for children as a whole and for fathers. I have a commercial that I'm going to play that is going to speak to a fatherhood thing that we've got coming up. So give me a minute and let me play this right quick.
Father, provider, protector, role model for a son, the image of the man that will be the husband of your daughter when that time comes. What's best for your children should be concern number one, regardless of any obstacles a father must overcome. Sometimes the injustices of our society towards many of our fathers can make it hard to stand, but you gotta stand and be a man and a father to your children in every way you possibly can. Demonstrate their worth through you by the words that you say and the things that you do. Don't ever put your children down or call them out of their name. They may become whatever you claim. Lift them up to higher ground. Let their inner beauty be seen, be found. Show them and tell them how special they are. Be the light. Be the light. Be the light to take them far. Show them and tell them how much you really care, and let them know no matter what, you will always, in all ways, be there. Pray that our fathers will be guided by the light to lead their children in the ways that are right.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, on September 25th, we are doing a mastermind for fathers called Nurturing Relationships, Strengthening Bonds. You can, let me move this comment, and if you want, right now, you can actually click on the QR code that you see on this flyer and sign up. And if you know fathers that could benefit from this, then you want to invite them to come. There's the QR code, scan it and register. September 25th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Charles, I know that you participated in the last two that I've done. So if you want to give any, from a father's perspective, any feedback on this, and again, September 25th, scan the QR code and register. Get other fathers to register for this program. It will be at the Urban League on September 25th. 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So let me pull it away, and then you can tell us what you felt about that particular mastermind.
So I'm going to say this because I always believe that we never stop learning. I always tell people, first of all, you never stop being a parent, even after your child is grown, which is why even the tagline or the motto of my foundation is we support, encourage, and empower fathers and families from the womb through high school and beyond. Because even after a child is grown, they go to college, sometimes they fall on hard times. We still have to be their parents. And so I encourage every father, because we have a hard time. We don't, I understand mothers will say the same thing, but sometimes fathers have a hard time because of themselves. We don't like to be honest all the time. We have pride issues. We don't want nobody to tell us nothing. We know everything, but that program in itself is well worth it. It gives you an opportunity to examine yourself, and see where you are and where you can do better. And I know me personally, I have definitely seen some things, some areas where I can improve. And I also see some weaknesses because of personal issues, things I've dealt with before, and understanding that I can't pass that on to my child. If I don't deal with the issues that I'm dealing with and I don't rectify them, then it's possible I can pass that on to my child. And then what am I to say when they're going through that? And it's like, okay, like as they say, it's called the pot calling the kettle black. You have to deal with the issues that you're facing right now so that your children can have a wholesome, that's what I'm looking for, a wholesome idea of what it is to grow up and deal with certain issues, because we've dealt with them. But if you're not willing to, as again, the word you use, humble, if you're not willing to humble yourself and say, hey, you know what? I'm not perfect. I could use some advice. I could use some help. And probably one of the best parts of it, especially the last one, is being able to learn from other men. The fact
Yes.
other men they're saying, hey, I don't know everything. And especially the last one, we had new fathers trying to learn. So it's like, wait a minute.
Yes.
So where am I? How can I help them, and how can they help me? So if you are not, if you are willing to put your pride aside, put your ego aside, and remember that we are not perfect, we're still learning. You want to be there September 25th.
Yes. And I've put the information in the chat. You can call the Urban League and either speak to me or Charles about this event that's coming up on the 25th. And please share with others about this, because we saw transformation with fathers even before the event was over.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a comment here from Samuel.
No, that's I told you my brother was watching. I told you he was watching.
This is your brother. And he
That's my
says,
brother.
spreading wisdom and unity amongst our community, big bro. That's awesome. Thank you for watching and being here to support your brother. This is amazing.
Let me say something, because I'm again, I try to be modest in some aspects, but I do have a TikTok. I didn't put that in the comments, so forgive me. But I am on TikTok at Mr. Yancey 18, and my little brother actually was he did my segment with me called "What's Great About Being a Father," and I encourage everyone to go check that out, even if I have to post it on your Facebook page. That video really meant a lot, because some of just some of the stuff he said in there. I put it, if you don't mind me saying it, because I don't, I guess we're very creative when it comes to how we say certain things or how we describe things. And he describes being a father as a refrigerator, or dealing with a child as a refrigerator. You only get out what you put in. So
I like that analogy.
yeah, like I said, it's probably better than my car analogy.
It's a good analogy. And you said your TikTok is Mr. Yancey
The number 18.
18.
Yep.
All right.
MRYANCEY, the number 18.
Okay. You need to check out this. You need to check out his TikTok.
Yeah.
And I'm putting it in the chat, and I'm putting it up here on the screen. TikTok, Mr. Yancey 18. Yeah. Check it out. Check it out.
As a matter of fact, it wasn't just him, because I'm working on getting back to it. I've spoken to other fathers, because I truly believe that being a parent, period, is not all negative. I do hear from a lot of families. I've heard from individuals, I don't like kids, but yet you have them. So,
and can you imagine? Let's back up with that for a minute. If a parent is saying, I don't like kids, and if your children are hearing you say that, what impact do you think you're having on your child?
Exactly.
If a child grows up feeling unloved, unwanted, and then we wonder why kids are acting out, committing. Do you realize the second cause of death for 10-year-olds to 34-year-olds is suicide?
Mm-hmm.
And we wonder why kids look so unhappy. This should be a joyful time for children. I get really choked up about this because I can see, and even here at the Urban League, all the kids that come through, and you can see so many kids that look so sad.
Mm-hmm.
And children shouldn't need to look sad. They
Well,
should be joyful. Anyway, go ahead.
right. Well, my biggest thing in that it all starts at home.
Yes.
Home is the foundation. But that's the biggest things I do love about that segment. Like I'm working on getting back to that because I've talked to multiple fathers who say, "Hey, it's not just about paying bills. It's not just about being a disciplinarian. It's really about being able to spend time with
Yes.
and being able to impart wisdom into them so that oh wow."
If you don't love kids, then you shouldn't have any. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. If you don't love children, then put them up for adoption. Anything but browbeating them and telling them they're bad and telling them they're terrible. Don't get me started.
Right. And here's my thing with that. And again, same thing we do at the Urban League. I'm always one for second chances. Again, that's why I pride myself on saying, from the womb through high school and beyond, because at some point in time, there are parents that do have these epiphanies out of nowhere and say, "Hey, I am a parent. Where's my child at?" And then they want to come back, and then they wonder why. But then you have to understand, when you come back after taking a break or being gone, sometimes children move on, and sometimes it's going to take more work to get back in there. But do not give up.
Do
Children,
not.
oh Lord, see, yeah, you know what? I ain't gonna lie to you. You make me cry. These people, these are people that I really care about. I'm a person to give a shout out to Aunt Helen because I know she's watching, and Aunt Helen is, well, her name is, I call her Aunt Helen. I've called Aunt Helen for years, but this is actually one of my co-hosts on my original podcast. So I sincerely appreciate for her for tuning in and supporting. But the thing is, you have to keep trying. Sometimes I'm sure you've seen the reality shows, the court shows, where people are still looking for their parents.
And let me say this. You're right. 64% of adults who have unresolved issues, many of whom are parents, these unresolved issues often, well, for 64%, it stems from their own childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding, if I as a parent have not addressed the baggage as a result of how I was raised, how am I going to raise my child the way that that child should be raised?
Exactly.
You can't give what you don't have.
Well, not only that, you also have to, as I said myself, you have to take accountability. You have to be responsible, and you also have to be willing to get help. I don't care if you 56 years old. I don't care if you 36 years old. I don't care if you're a male or a female. If you know that you're dealing with issues, if you know that you're in a place where you don't want to be in mentally, then you have to be willing to say, you know what, I need help.
Yes.
And then go into therapy, church, prayer. It doesn't matter. The main thing is you have to address those issues that you're dealing with. Otherwise, it will continue to go on, and unfortunately, it will bleed onto your children.
And on top of that, not only will it bleed on your children, it's like a non-stop cycle.
It's a
because what you're doing to your kids, they're going to do to their kids, and it's going to just be a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stop it, people. Our children are our most valuable asset, our most valuable gift. And if you're feeling some kind of way towards your child, get some help. Come to the Urban League. And let us address some of your issues. Come to the Urban League. We're equipped to help you resolve some of your issues. If you need a job, come to the. We've got some. Charles, tell them.
Well,
We've got some awesome jobs out here. But anyway, go ahead.
Not even just that, because and I definitely give a shout out to Mr. West for that. And some of his and again, told us in the meeting. Yeah, it's a lot going, but you make sense of it. But we again, even with us getting people jobs, if not capable of doing that job, then it doesn't even make sense for us to get you a job. So we are now working on dealing with mental health, because
yes,
one thing to get a person a job, it's another thing to make sure that they're mentally equipped to deal with that job. And again, when you having issues at home, be it with children, your significant other, bills or whatever, that can really put a stress on you. And then when you turn around, you go to a job, yeah, you're going to make money. Then you have your bad spirit. You are, mean mugging people. It is not. Nobody wants to work around somebody like that.
Absolutely. And if you're carrying, you can't, when you consider a job is 1/3 of your life, and how you treat that job impacts on your home, just like your home impacts on that job. Being able to understand that I have to separate what's going on in my home. I can't bring it to work. Right. I can't sit on my job complaining about my wife or my husband or my children when I'm supposed to be working. Come on now.
Again, when you talk about, kind of bring back in the whole conquer the unexpected aspect of it, again, when you want to take responsibility, you admit that, hey, I have a issue. I am not in the mental place where I can be around people. It's a real thing. You have to be willing to deal with that. And not only that, I'm lost of thought. I'm gonna get it back. But you really have to be able to put yourself in a position to where it's not going to affect other people, because even in a work situation, I've seen that happen. You come to work and people expect a certain aura from you, and you come in with a negative attitude, a negative spirit. And it's like, you know what? I'm cool. They talk about the whole teamwork aspect. There is no teamwork aspect. That's what I was trying to do. I was going to go back a bit, because unfortunately, parents don't always see that,
Right. And awareness precedes change. If you don't see it, you can't change it. And if you don't acknowledge it, we can't change what we will not acknowledge.
Right. But then, and again, when it comes to children, because if you look at them, when they go to school, it's the same thing. You wonder why your children are having behavioral issues in school. Where do they get it from?
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I had a teacher, because one of the things that I talk about is yelling, and the impact that yelling has on a child. It traumatizes a child. It can cause depression, anxiety, suicide. It can cause kids to become inward. I had a teacher tell me that she could tell the difference between a child that is raised in a home where there's constant yelling and children where that is not the case. Even their brain waves change,
right,
from the impact of yelling. And I say to parents and adults, how do you feel when someone yells at you? Amplify it for a child. We've got some more comments coming in. This is great. Okay. Yarny, Sharnita says, is this your sister?
That's my little...
Okay, she says, absolutely. I'm so glad all of you are here. And please share this video, like it, and comment, and subscribe to my channel, please. Oh my goodness, this is great.
Yeah, lie to you, Vera, I was not expecting all that. But I'm gonna tell you all before, I'm not gonna make a Facebook post. I sincerely appreciate everybody who has tuned in, and definitely supporting Vera, because we've talked about this, and we're really trying to make we really want to make sure people are in the right position, not just at work but at home. And that's what I was gonna say when it came to conquering the unexpected, because again, if we dealing with this at home, when the child goes to school, they know how to handle it. That's when you talk about conquering unexpected, because children don't know how to handle certain situations when they constantly seeing, like you said, yelling, when they seeing their parents handle situations wrong. They don't know
Right.
how to handle it. But when they see their parents overcoming, negative situations, even as simple, and people, I get real simple. Even a bad delivery, don't cuss out the delivery man. Don't call and cuss out the the store or what company. It's a way to handle situations, even though you might be upset. It's enough
Yes.
that, you know.
Yes. And
Go ahead.
yes. Keep in mind, children grow to be what they see. And I know right now, cursing is one of those things that everybody's doing, and these kids are hearing all this foul language. I remember a grandmother she was going to be a client of mine, and she had two grandchildren, a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. She cursed like a sailor. Everything that came out of her mouth was a curse word. And I told her, when these kids start school and they're cursing at the teachers and they're cursing at other kids, you have no leg to stand on, because they're only imitating what they see. And I know we don't have a lot of time. But there are basic parental styles that impact on children. And I don't want to take the time that is for you to talk about these parental styles, but we're going to have a conversation where we're going to talk about these parental styles and the impact that those styles have on children and on the parents themselves. And speaking of yelling, parents, think about it. Like I said, how do you feel when someone yells at you? Amplify it in a child. Let me ask you this. When you're yelling, what kind of physical stuff do you go through? Do you end up with a headache, stomach ache, your nerves on edge as a result of yelling to the top of your lungs? It not only impacts on your child, it impacts on you yourself.
And if
And how, okay, go ahead.
Well, if I may be transparent in that aspect, that's even something that I had to learn, because I had did that at one point. And it also, if we even want to get even deeper, this is why relationship between parents have to be a certain way.
Yes.
Because again, we're not worried about food. We're not worried about jobs. If your relationship with your significant other is not conducive, as you mentioned earlier, then that's when the yelling and stuff comes from, which again breeds yelling, which again breeds bad behavior in school, which again breeds bad behavior in the community, which breeds the prison pipeline, because we set them up for that. You can't get
Right.
a child goes off and goes crazy when that's all they saw. They see people throwing stuff in the house, people doing
Yes.
hold on. Now I'm mad at you because you going to jail for doing the same thing that you saw me doing at home. No.
Yes. And this is so valid. So valid. And these are the things, because the name of the mastermind is Nurturing Relationships, Strengthening Bonds. And so we're talking about, what do you do beyond discipline, and how do you discipline your child without yelling, without cursing, without screaming, without calling them out of their name.
Exactly.
Don't call your children stupid, lazy, dumb. Don't do that, because you will raise a child feeling that way.
Right.
And then they can't even become all that they can be because they're hearing those tapes in their heads. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. Nobody likes me. You know, my
Right.
mom doesn't love me. My dad is not there for me.
And
Can
again,
you imagine the impact that this is having on your children?
and as we mentioned earlier, because again, I'm gonna keep pushing fatherhood. You know, I push parenthood, period. But again, when a parent is saying that and including the other parent at the same time, that makes the situation even worse. So, or better yet, yeah, I'm sure somebody has heard this one before. You just like your daddy.
Yes.
You ain't gonna be nothing either. That should never come out.
Ah,
Or you just like your mama. She like this, she like that, and you gonna be just like her. That should never be a part of your conversation with your child.
it should not. It should not. And Shamil, Shamil,
Jamor, Jamor,
Shamor, he says, the word says, with loving kindness have I drawn thee. We must follow the example of our Father in heaven. He also said, provoke not your child to anger.
Ephesians 6.
We don't understand. And I'm telling you, one of the greatest instructional books for parents is Proverbs. Proverbs has instructions on how parents should be parents. Well, the Bible, period, just has word. He said the word is a light unto your feet and a lamp unto your path.
Right.
If we trust the word, we will be given instruction on how we should be raising our children. And let me also say that spare the rod, spoil the child. Let me tell you what that really means. It doesn't mean beating on your children. It doesn't mean always hitting on your kids. What it means is spare discipline and you spoil your child. Discipline comes in many different forms, and hitting is the least effective for several reasons. One, hitting teaches a child that that's how you resolve conflict.
Right.
Two, hitting a child is, in my opinion, especially when you're doing more than just spanking, that is abuse. All right, you got the. I'm going to give you the floor. There were some commercials I was supposed to play, but this is a topic that we needed to address. And again, check out the Urban League. Let me put that back up. You want to check out the Urban League. We're trying to help fathers. We're trying to help mothers. We're trying to help unemployed. We're trying to help those that may have some emotional, mental issues. We're here for you. We are here for you. Okay. What is this?
Oh my.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, you have to. Cousin Darlene, she speaks. She's trying to help.
Well,
That's
thank
her.
you.
That's
Thank
her.
you.
I promise you, just let it go, because if she gonna advertise that, if nobody else gonna advertise, Darlene will
Well,
advertise.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. You've got 2 minutes. Thank you so much, Darlene. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to give you the floor to close us out. And then I just want to say to our audience, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And please share what it is that we're doing. And, call the Urban League. Here's the number. Check out our website. Register for the class. You can even register for the fatherhood on our website. If not right this second, you'll be able to do it in the next couple of days. All right. Let me give you the floor.
I'll say I got probably about 30 seconds. All I'm gonna say is this: please go to my Facebook page, Conquer the Unexpected. I am working on updating it. I'm working on bringing some things back. So please go and follow Conquer the Unexpected on Facebook, as well as follow my TikTok, which is MRYANCEY 18. I will be posting more videos, but if nothing else, please go back and check out what's great about being a father. Fatherhood is not negative. Yes, there are some negative situations, but being a father is really a great thing. And I want every father to embrace that and then show that love to their children. I thank again, Vera, thank you very much for this opportunity and being able to share my story and words of wisdom with others.
Well, thank you for being here. And with that, we're going to say we will see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend. And Charles, I'll see you tomorrow. Yes. And thank you so much for being here. God bless you all. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Charles.
The Vera Time Show. The Vera Time Show. The Vera Time Show. The Vera Time Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Time Show. Let's talk about it.